Now, when it comes to Pokemon games, I think we can all agree that for the last half decade or so, we've pretty much been getting Pokemon releases every single year, back to back to back, ever since like 2016, with the start of the 7th generation with Pokemon Sun and Moon, because after that in 2017, we had Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, in 2018 we had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, in 2019 we had Pokemon Sword and Shield, 2020 we had Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, and then after 2021, it got really crazy because at the end of 2021, we had Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and then just 2 months after that, we got Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then a month after that, they revealed the 9th generation with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which also came out in the same year, and now we're in 2023 where we're getting Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. Now, in the past, GameFreak used to take some gap years sometimes to work on some games, and we wouldn't really get any main series releases for that year. In fact, the last one I think was in 2015 when everybody was speculating if we were going to get like Pokemon Z or something that year, and we actually ended up getting nothing, and then the year after was when we got Pokemon Sun and Moon. But it really seems like now Pokemon doesn't take any types of gaps when it comes to their new games or development. We don't really go any year now without any type of Pokemon release, whether it's DLC or a whole new game. And with seeing how some of these games have turned out, like Pokemon Sword and Shield and all the glitches and crazy things that happened in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a lot of people have been wondering if it's worth having Game Freak take some more time or really kind of spend more time working on these games and not really have to have so many releases back to back to back. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because there was actually an interview that we got to see with the Pokemon Company COO and talking about future releases and how exactly everything works. And it's really interesting because it puts a lot of things into perspective. So I do want to talk about it with you guys and give you guys my thoughts. Now, real quick before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I am having a special giveaway for reaching 55,000 subscribers, or I'm giving away $55 on the Nintendo eShop. So if you want to have a chance to win an eShop gift card for $55, definitely be sure to click the link below in the description or the pinned comment and definitely go through there. It does end at the start of September, so you don't have a lot of time, so definitely be sure to go ahead and enter for a chance to win. Alright, so here we are on comicbook.com where they got to have this interview with the Pokemon Company's Chief Operating Officer, and it says right here, the Pokemon Company COO addresses possibility of slowing down game releases. And it says right here in the article, the Pokemon Company is having conversations about how to ensure that future Pokemon games are quality products while being released on a regular release schedule. At the Pokemon World Championships in Yokohama, Japan, comicbook.com had the opportunity to participate in a group interview with Takato Utsunomiya, the Chief Operating Officer of the Pokemon Company. While the interview was limited to overall questions about the brand as opposed to specifics about the game or anime, comicbook.com did ask whether there was a specific schedule that the Pokemon brand was beholden to when it comes to the release of new Pokemon games. And the quote right here was, "I think in general, if you look at the past, the path we've taken up until now has been this constant release, always regularly releasing products on a fairly fixed kind of cadence, you might say." Utsunomiya responded via a translator, "Always having these products able to be introduced and new experiences for our customers, and that's how we've operated up until now. I think we're still operating in that way, but there's more and more conversations as the development environments change about how we can continue to do this, while making sure that we're ensuring really quality products are also being introduced." Utsunomiya's response was the closest we may get to an acknowledgement about the issues faced by Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which has faced significant technical issues post-release. The games have required several significant patches since its release, which has marred what has otherwise been a top-selling game for the franchise. Game Freak, the developer of the Pokemon main series games, has released new Pokemon games on an almost annual schedule since the franchise launched in 1996. Over the past 27 years, only 7 years have passed when Game Freak has not released a new main series game. We will note that the introduction of the Pokemon Sword and Shield provided a new wrinkle to the release schedule, as Game Freak opted to release DLC in 2020 instead of a new game or remake. DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is also due to be the 2023 release, with the first portion coming out in September. Now, to be honest, I think a lot of this is probably just PR talk for the sake of the interview, but I still find it really interesting that the Pokemon Company COO is mentioning things like this, because if you don't know who this person is, Mr. Takato Utsunomiya, this is the person that we see in all of the Pokemon Presents nowadays, where it's the guy with the glasses who's giving all the information. This is him who's talking about all of this, and he's very high up in the Pokemon Company, so I feel like him talking about how there is conversations about the development environments changing and how they can still continue to get out these types of games, games, it really does make me have a little bit of hope that maybe there is going to be some discussion that they're going to have about maybe slowing down some of these types of releases and really trying to have more quality games coming out. Because I've always said this, and I always will, I don't have any issues waiting a longer time if it means we're going to get better Pokemon games. Like, I know there's some people who just can't seem to go a year without having a new type of Pokemon game, and as soon as they're done playing like the new Pokemon game that comes out in November, by Christmas time, and they're already starting to ask for the next Pokemon game as soon as the next year begins in January. I don't have any issues at all. Like, if you told me right now after the Scarlet and Violet DLC comes out this year that we're not going to get the next Pokemon game until like 2026 or something, I would not have an issue. 2027 even, I don't have any issues waiting. Some of the other franchises that I'm also into are Zelda and Xenoblade, and if you take a look at the new games that have come out for the Nintendo Switch, in terms of both of these, we've only had 2 games. Whereas for Zelda, you had Breath of the Wild, which came out when the system launched, and then just this year we got Tears of the Kingdom, which was the sequel. And then for Xenoblade, in terms of just looking at brand new Xenoblade games, we had Xenoblade 2, which came out in 2017 when the Switch came out, and then last year we had Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which was a sequel to that game, which came out last year. But ever since then, we haven't really had any other really big kind of releases with these games. But the point is, when it comes to just straight up brand new games, there's only really been 2 of them on the Nintendo Switch. And also, if we take a look at just other franchises too, like Fire Emblem, there's only been 2 big Fire Emblem games that have come out for the Switch as well, being Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Engage. Compare that now to Pokemon. You've had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and now apparently there's also a Unova game that's rumored for next year. Like, you can just see how many Pokemon games have come out now from the same amount of time since this system has been released, and you can just see how we're getting so many Pokemon games back to back to back. And so I really have no issues waiting for a better Pokemon game if it means waiting a little longer, and that seems to be the main discussion that's happening on Twitter too, where this person Marcus here was saying it's quite simple. Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet didn't need to come out in the same year, and I totally agree with that. Like, I actually made a video last year, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was at the start of the year. I literally made a video saying, GameFreak, don't release Generation 9 in 2022. And of course that video aged horribly because it did come out that year, but I genuinely didn't want Gen 9 to come out last year. I feel like with Pokemon Legends Arceus, they already had a really solid release that was coming out, and it seemed pretty cool, and if they just let that game simmer more and have more time to let people buy that game and experience it and stuff, it would have sold really well too. Like, it already sold really good just talking about it in general. Like, I think it sold like 14 million, which is still insanely good, and it's, I mean, that's a single just standalone game that's not even like 2 versions, so it's really cool. But I just feel like the fact that this game was released and then a month later they were just like, you know what, forget about this game, we're showing you Scarlet and Violet now, it definitely kind of had a lot of sales, I would say, tank for that, because the game basically became irrelevant after they showed Gen 9. And that's why I really would have been fine if they just took Legends Arceus as like the entire 2022 slot, and that would have been the game that everybody played all of last year. Maybe they could have sprinkled in some DLC and stuff towards the end of the year if they wanted some extra paid content, but then after that, they would have had more time to work on Scarlet and Violet, and hopefully it wouldn't have had all these glitches and issues when it released, and I really think that would have been for the best. NC Smaster here was saying, Game Freak needs more time. It's that simple. You can't make high quality modern games on a release schedule used since the Game Boy, and that's completely true as well. With the way that the Game Boy games were made with these sprite-based graphics and the way that the development was, it was much more simpler now compared to these home console games that are coming out in HD with 3D graphics and 3D models and all of that. It definitely needs way more time, and Game Freak's team really hasn't grown all that big, where I know a lot of people always like to show me this picture right here of Game Freak's team, where it's like, look, Aero, you know, you've got these 100 plus people that are working at Game Freak. They've got a lot of people working, so I don't know why people always say that Game Freak's team is so small, but the thing is, a lot of people seem to forget that this isn't just all the amount of people that are working on one game. This amount at Game Freak is actually split between so many different projects, and that's kind of really the big issue right here, where this number that you see right here, there was a time where this number with Game Freak staff was split between making DLC for Pokemon Sword and Shield, having people like Masuda with like the overseeing and supervising of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, even though that was being worked on by Ilka. We had another part that was working on Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then another group of like the veterans who were starting the early plannings and like the original plans for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with Gen 9. Like, that is so many different projects that you're working on with a team that's split just from having this small amount of people. So you can definitely see here with all the stuff that they're always working on, it's just not really kind of feasible with the amount of staff that they have. And so we'll just have to wait and see what the Pokemon Company does decide to do moving forward with their releases. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button and also subscribe to the channel as well, as I'm going to be having more Pokemon videos in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think about all of this. How do you guys feel about the Pokemon Company COO talking about all of this, and would you mind waiting a little bit longer if it meant some better Pokemon games that could be coming out? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. Go follow me on Twitter at @ActualAero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there. We're always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And remember to enter my giveaway as well. I'm giving away a $55 eShop gift card, so definitely be sure to click the link below in the description or the pinned comment if you want to have a chance to win. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.